of Everything Went Black, everyone. Apologies for the absence on the regular stream, at least. I've been doing some Patreon episodes just to let everyone know what's going on. Welcome back, Ralph Schmidt, for another episode of the Metaphysics of. This time, it's the Metaphysics of Reason. Just a warning, this episode gets very political. And if you're not into that kind of thing, then maybe skip this one. But, we get kind of deep into it on this episode. Very philosophical and sort of reflections on the current state of the world, politics, and the idiocracy in the United States. Before we get going, I want to shout out the rest of the Horsemen. Kicking things off every other Monday, we've got Brandon Legions, Horror Wolf 666. Up next, Jackie Schmidt brings us into the necrosphere. And as usual, every year, we do the top 10 records of the previous year together. And that was a great, great episode. I always have a lot of fun talking to Jackie. And it's an honor to be asked to count down the top 10 records every year. I hope we continue doing this for years to come. Wednesday, of course, is Everything Went Black, but it's also Iblis Manifestations. It's a double shot, first day of some double shots in the week. Thursdays, we have Necromaniacs. I bring you episodes along with Mike Scandato and Jeff Kashid. Soul Knox also posts on Thursdays, and of course, that's Carl Hikara. Friday, we have Spitball Media featuring John Draper, Mike Scandato's brother. Saturday is a day off, so go out, enjoy yourself. Because Sunday, Carl Hikara, the Sinister Minister, comes back with Soul Knox, day 2. Carl and I are deep into our exploration of Carl Edward Wagner on the Darkness Weaves collaboration. We're starting our next novel in the series, and that's The Dark Crusade, so stay tuned for that one. Episode 1 of that is going to be posting later this month. If you enjoy this show, by all means, tell your friends, give us reviews, but you can also step things up by joining the Everything Went Black Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you get bonus material. For $5 a month, you get all the bonus material, plus early access to the episodes. And for $25 a month, you can become a sponsor. This is really cool that we're doing another one of these, Ralph. It's been a while since we've done them, and I know that the fans really enjoy these episodes.
Yeah, I enjoy them too. It's good to be back. But yeah, I mean, life's been hectic, and I remember like the good days of the pandemic, where we had a lot of time on our hands, and we kind of like brought out these episodes almost like bi-weekly.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's been a lot going on. I mean, your life has been hectic and difficult, and so it's like a lot of shit has went down here. And but yeah, it's always good catching up. Like we always say, like it would be fine. Like it would be so cool if you would just live down the street and we could just hang out and catch up sometime.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I will end up being a German citizen at some point.
Oh yeah, dude, like there's a couple of people that inquired and I have like an actual case, and like I will bring it up later in this episode, of someone who really wants to leave the US now and wants to move to Germany, and like asked me for help. And I mean, Springsteen left for Canada, and so yeah, so maybe Michael will go back to Italy or something at some point.
I thought about that actually, because I would be able to get a European passport through my Italian heritage. So that's
Mhm.
interesting. But Springsteen's going to Canada. Canada is going to become the 51st state, man. I don't know. He's not really running away from anybody.
Dude, like that's yeah. I mean that's the I mean this episode I think will be drenched in all of that, man. But it's like
Probably.
but
Yeah.
like I mean we've got a lot of shit here that I have to like take in and like adjust to. But like what I've seen from like the winning run of the James Bond villains assembly of Donald Trump, man. Oh Jesus.
Yeah, really, it's like surreal in a way that it's almost like he's like Darth Vader or something, and this is but not as cool as Darth Vader, but like it's like villains. Like they're all it's like this villain team, like a
Dude,
super
yeah,
team of super villains.
but it's like, like in the Clown Academy. It's like, like these old like when you watch Batman now or read Batman, but then you look back at this old like TV show of Batman, like these clumsy idiots that are like his
Right.
opponents, or like these over the top action things where like these cartoons from like Danger Mouse and shit like these clowns like now with RFK Jr. and his speech in the Oval Office. It's just like this all can't be true. Like this, I don't know if I always keep forgetting his name, like the Fox News host who's now
Oh, Peter Hegseth. Yeah.
uh, what is he, defense or something? No, I don't what it's
St
so dude, it's so absurd.
Secretary of Defense is his title. Yeah.
That's unbelievable. It's
I
really
mean,
like
he did serve. He has military, he was in the military, but like usually they pick a general to do something like that. This guy was like a colonel, I think, which is
yeah,
in the hierarchy of the military, not very high. Or no, he was maybe a major, I think,
okay.
but he never really like led anyone,
Yeah.
And then of course there's all his other misdeeds of which is weak character flaws and all that. And the funniest thing about it is like he's like, first of all, I didn't do anything wrong. And secondly, I found Jesus Christ, so I'm forgiven of
Uh,
everything. It's like, well, either you did something wrong or you're forgiven for doing something. What did you do that was, I don't, it just, there's no lot,
yeah.
no reason is being applied.
Huh, yeah. It's just like it's just so weird, Like in Germany when you apply for a job, it's like you have to have it's called Führungszeugnis, which is a paper of the state where you have to like go to your towns hall and apply for it. It costs some money, and then they will check if you have any priors. And like if you have any priors, they will get sent to the address that you apply at. So me being a teacher, like, I had like when I was still a punk, I went out to like anti-fascist demonstrations against the Nazis
Yeah.
and we threw some bricks. I pushed some people. And like I was interrogated and shit like this, but like I was never there's nothing that is like in my file. But if
Yeah.
there would be something in my file, I couldn't be a teacher. But it seems like,
Exactly.
yeah, I don't know, like it seems like Trump now with all the people that he's like, oh, so you've been to the military, okay, cool, but like, what's the shit that you pulled? Oh, so you grabbed some girls, you like minors, cool, you're in. Like it's only people like this, like everybody has a shit stain attached to it.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, the company I work for the department that does all the federal work. So I was scrutinized, man. I had to go through like all these like background checks and everything, every single thing. And it seems like these guys get to waltz right through, and become
Yeah.
like leaders and are, part of the cabinet without any kind of scrutiny, and I'm just like, and all I'm doing is designing like boiler and chiller plants.
Yeah. And that's what like this whole world is kind of like the scale is off. It's like it's leaning towards chaos right now. And I mean that's well, like we're already pretty much deep into this episode with the topic that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I tried to structure it a bit because structure is something that this world doesn't seem to have anymore. So
Right.
yeah, so we're back with the metaphysics off episode, and it's a topic that like the people in my surrounding, which is not a whole lot of people that I hang out with, but they're probably tired of me talking about this. But it's like it's the one thing like when I studied philosophy that really like struck a nerve, and I'm kind of obsessed with that, and that's the topic of reason. So this episode is called the metaphysics of reason. And we're going to dive in if there's any reason anymore in anyone in this whole fucking world, which is complete utter chaos, or we're like at the brink of utter chaos. Yeah.
Yeah. So lead the charge, man. What's
All right.
how's this
All right.
gonna work?
Okay, so I think, like always, we should maybe try to define first what this word means, because um, in German we're talking about the word Vernunft, which is pretty much only that word, but reason is different things in English.
Right.
So we will talk about the power of the mind to think, understand, and form judgments logically. Emphasis on logic. Um,
Um,
yeah,
I went through a bunch of different definitions because, as you know, reason there's like a noun and verb
yeah.
in the English language, and the most reductive definition that I could come up with that seems to hit the nail on the head is a rational motive, to have
Hmm.
rational motivation.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
so I
So
think that's a very bite-sized definition of that term.
yeah, and it's pretty much the whole subplot of what I teach in school is in Germany when you teach philosophy, it's like in some states it's called ethics, in some states it's called practical philosophy, which is kind of semi the same thing, but it's always until the 10th grade. And when kids go to the higher school, then it gets more, like the theoretical. But everything that we like I teach is about the actual, you live this life and you have to think about what other people do. And get like a connection. And I think what I always when I start teaching them and then you build up the topics and in the 10th grade, like the big finale is always like reason. And it's then I explain to them it's the one thing that is like interconnected between everything and what differentiates us from the animals. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good definition.
I found one in like when I did research for this that I liked a lot. So in this definition, reason is using more or less rational processes of thinking and cognition to extrapolate from one's existing knowledge to generate new knowledge and involve the use of one's intellect. Yeah,
But this concept of reason is it's not really like an empirical thing for humanity, really. And I
yeah,
would say that going back to like the work of like Descartes and Spinoza and all those people, like the Age of Enlightenment might have been the beginning of actual applying reason,
yeah,
where rationalism was used as opposed to some sort of divine mandate, you know.
yeah,
That's kind of like in my opinion, like where the concept of reason started.
yeah. I would agree. And it's been like one of the biggest topics in philosophy ever since. And my guy is Kant. So I always like he was the guy that changed my perspective on philosophy. And I'm really not like a big fan of Immanuel Kant, but this critique of pure reason book and the groundwork of the metaphysics of morals, this really like made me start actually thinking and understanding philosophy. So we'll come back to that in a bit. Um, but before we go into it, because you already touched on it, that there's it used to be, like reason used to be something divine and like God gave us that, and we're talking about like humans, like no spiritual thing. This is a thing we can do. And so I called like I have two chapters pretty much because I think that's going to be way more than we can actually do in an hour. But
Yeah,
so chapter one I called Als Tier ist der Mensch nichts, which is the album title of our friends Unruh that you saw live when you were in Cologne.
yeah,
And
great
it
band.
pretty much translates to as an animal, man is nothing. And my question to you is, what differentiates animals from humans?
Well, you know something, it's interesting. I feel like animals probably apply reason way more effectively than humans do, if you think about it. Like animals don't believe in God, they don't believe in they don't have a wide bandwidth of belief systems that would dictate and maybe work against their rationality. Like animals rely on their instincts, and their instincts are connected more to the natural world than humans are. It's like humans live in a world of abstraction, and animals live in the material world, more so than we do. Like they don't ponder what happens after they die, or the afterlife or anything like that. Like
Yeah,
they're not trying to bank up, currency for their trip to heaven or anything like that. They
Yeah.
just live in a black and white world in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah, it's
So I
very
think,
sorry. Yeah.
yeah. So I would say that what defines humanity is their ability to apply irrational thought patterns to the rational world.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I got it. Um, I agree. And I think when I do this in school and talk with the kids about that, I'm like always, so what differentiates them? They're like, oh yeah, they don't have a language. Well, they do. They
I
talk
certainly
with each
do.
other. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't love. It's like, oh, they do. Like they wouldn't protect their kittens or like their kids if they weren't loving them. So that's all there. And it's like, but like a gazelle, or like a leopard doesn't go out, or a lion doesn't go out and say like, huh. So there's this deer, and over there's an elephant which I could kill. So I had an elephant yesterday, so I'll go over and eat this. So they don't reason with that. They just go out and follow their instincts. And it's like, I'm hungry, I have to eat. This is prey. I will kill it and I will eat it. But we are the people that have these abilities to reflect, huh, I could eat a burger. Burger is good. It tastes well, but it has a lot of fat in it. And it's also the melted cheese, and also I had it last week. So I might do something else today. So I think the difference is that we can reflect on things. We can put
Yeah.
things in a perspective. And to me, reason is to think about a setting or the consequence of our actions and decide if we will do it or not. So if like when it comes to Kant, he tried to make us all do the right thing all the time. And we will talk about this in a bit if we're just robots when we only follow reason. But I think we as people have the ability, and we're like, that's what he says, we're born with the ability, but we have to learn it, we have to nurture it, we have to educate us, and then we have to be willingly applying this. And that's the reason why I wanted to do this topic, because the world right now feels like no one is willingly doing reason anymore.
Exactly, because that's the gray area that you talked about, learning, like learning and educating yourself and being able to make like judgments is the gray area that is this yawning, chaotic abyss right now for everyone. Because there's been a lot of interference with that, and a disturbing fact in the United States, at least, is that I think something like 20% of our population has like a sixth grade education or less, and they're basically like illiterate, So
Yeah.
right then and there, you're removing this ability to rationalize anything if you don't have that ability to read or educate yourself. And it's like there's multiple tiers to reading too. Like number one, it's like, okay, great. I can't go to a textbook or manual or whatever and learn something because I cannot decipher what's on the page. And second, a secondary uh, problem with that is that the mechanism of looking at words, representations of concepts on a page, like that translation of taking that graphical representation of a concept and making it into something in your brain. If you don't exercise that, you're losing this entire ability to analyze anything, and if you spend your days watching videos, on TikTok, like, 5-second videos or whatever,
Yeah.
you're so easily manipulated and, completely, fooled into believing certain things are true and certain things aren't true. And that's why people believe the earth is flat because they can't understand that it's not. They don't have that ability to analyze. They're just looking at some video that some maniac put up there about how the earth is flat. And then you can extrapolate that into politics and everything else.
Yeah. And that's still like it's always we kind of always end up with the flat earth thing. And I always have to go back to our Deftones episode that I'm still so
Dude,
baffled that this guy has been on tour all over the world
yeah.
and he's still talking like, oh yeah, the earth is flat. It's like, yeah, I know, but that's the thing, man. Like that's yeah. Like I think the chapter one was the introduction, and like I think the chapter two will be the actual episode now because we talked about like the difference. So we can't do that. We have to do it, but like people willingly abandon it. That's why I will open chapter two, which will be the big part, with two quotes from bands that I both very much like. And here's a challenge to you out there, the listeners. Um, I will say both of these quotes, and if you can name them in the comment section without like Googling actually what these quotes are from, you will get a, I don't know, shout out from me or
You get
something
a
next
gold
time.
star.
A
You get
gold
a gold
star.
star.
So, I will do the first one also in a singing voice because I know that Danny will recognize it and she will love it. So, chapter two, put out the lights on the age of reason. And the second one is, and they won't have to burn the books because no one reads them anyways. So, where are we now, Mike, in this world of reason? What do you think is the state of the world when it comes to reason?
Well, right now, I think that now this is interesting question because it depends on what point of view you have. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
I'm gonna this is a very roundabout way of discussing this. I'm gonna go to an American, okay?
Hmm.
Thomas Paine. All right, Thomas Paine. He wrote several texts. The Age of Reason, right? He wrote Common Sense and the Rights of Man. Okay.
Hmm.
And he was one of these guys like in the beginning, early history of the United States, who was like a thinker who, was very formative in the consciousness of the United States. And some of his criticisms is about the corruption of the church. And he believed to like a more, like we were discussing earlier, like this kind of, Newtonian approach to everything, where he believed in God, but he didn't believe in miracles. He believed that the natural world dictates things. So he was into rationalism. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, let's go 200 years down the line. Okay. Now we have Christian fundamentalism, this rise of people believing in, Christian magic and snake handling and, stuff like that. Where certain leaders are the divine people that God is speaking through someone, this orange guy,
Yeah.
and basically a mass manipulation going on. So, kind of connected to what I was saying before, how people lack the ability of analysis because of their lack of certain empirical skills that would give them the ability to scrutinize things. To them, that's the truth. That's the ultimate truth. So they're applying this like manipulated version of the truth to dictate what their moves are in life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like right now, at least in the United States and maybe in the larger world, we're 180 degrees away from like what was discussed in The Age of Reason by Thomas Paine.
Yeah. Good point. It's exactly like kind of what I feel. Like, I mean, I'm in school. I have to teach kids that have an attention span of maybe 20 seconds by now because of like TikTok ruining them. And I to me right now, it feels like standing like on the verge of a mountain and seeing like a gigantic avalanche starting to fall down, running down the hill. I'm standing there helplessly with like 10 others that look at it and we're like, what the fuck can we do? And around us like are like literally 1,000 people that throw grenades at the snow to start more avalanches. Like it's really like it's suffocating me to see like every day and every week there's new shit coming up, like with the election in the States, with the upcoming election in Germany, that Austria almost had a like right-wing chancellor and shit like this. And like I have a friend. She's a trans woman and she's a musician in the States. She's fantastic. She's one of the best people. And she had her passport renewed now under the new regime. And she got her passport back and it said male. They just took
Oh
away
man.
took away the female and she's broken. It's like I fought so long and hard for this and now they just took it away. Trump wants to strip Native Americans of their US citizenships. Like, hey, so you were here before, so but we're the Americans, so you're not the Americans. shit like this. And like right here, right now, last Sunday, there was a TV debate because of the both like the big party chancellor candidates with Merz and Scholz and from the CDU and SPD. And like, this country is like pretty much like we're functioning and it's economically it's going okay. And we have problems in school, not enough teachers. We have not enough people that help mothers take care of their kids so they can go to work. We have like problems with nature and climate change and everything. And they spent an hour debating on primetime TV about like why they should close the borders and why migrants are the only problem this country has right now, which is shit, a narrative that the AfD has pushed on hard, and their results gotten better and better. So like the big parties jump on that bandwagon too. And right now, wherever I go, and remember, Americans listening to this, here, democracy consists of several parties, and they
Yeah.
all fight for the throne. So you have posters everywhere. And it used to be like not faces, it used to be Christian Democrats. We will fight for more places in school. SPD, we want this. FDP, we want more money in the economy and shit like this. Right now, it's a dumb face and one word: togetherness, freedom, riches. Like shit like this. It's like even the candidacy is gotten to the degree of TikTok memes, where it's just like, oh, there's a guy, he looks cool, and he says together, maybe we will be together when he's the chancellor. It's like total dollar bullshit right now. And it's like, that's why I feel like, how the fuck did this happen? How did we go back 70 years? Did we push the change after the Second World War to more literacy? Like, okay, there's not only like, okay, we accept gay people now. Cool, fine. So we have Christopher Street Day. Oh, there's more to queer than just gay and lesbians. Okay, we'll accept it. Oh no, but now it's too much. And we slap back to the way it was before the Second World War. Same with like, oh, so vegetarian food is a thing. Uh-huh. Okay, good. So what's this vegan? Uh-huh. Why do you need to call this schnitzel when it's not a schnitzel? But anyhow, I'll accept it. Now, back. We only want to have meat again. Like we'll go like we're going not back to the Stone Age, but we're going back to like the good old days in a way. And that's fucking scary.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not sure 100% how the German government works. Like, do you like so there's like break it down for me. Like in the United States, we have a legislative branch, executive branch, basically, and the judiciary. So we got like the Congress, the
Mhm.
executive, which is the president, and then the Supreme Court. So how does the Congress makes laws, the president's supposed to make sure they're executed the right way, and
Yeah.
then the judiciary is supposed to make rulings about the laws. Okay, so how
Mhm.
does it work in Germany? How does your government work in Germany?
So we have Bundestag and Bundesrat. Bund is unity pretty much. And so what we do here is, for example, I just voted because I
Hmm.
took a postal election. What do you call it? Like with a letter. So I send in my voting certificate. I don't go to
Oh,
like a
okay.
ballot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so on that paper right now, it's like 6 to 7 direct candidates for your like part of town, so Cologne, which is like the candidates from the bigger parties. So we've got, I mean, in total could be up to 30 different parties that you could elect right now. And so
Right.
you have two votes. The one is like for the direct candidate for like being the one that like goes to Berlin for to the big party to represent North Rhine-Westphalia. And so you've got people from SPD and CDU, which are the biggest parties. They have the Green, which is like more the Earth positive thing. You've got the Left Party. You've got the AfD, which are the right assholes. You've got the FDP, which is the party for the rich people. And so they all like try to get your votes. And if their party then gets more than 5%, they will get seats in the Bundestag, like in this Congress, pretty much. And there, like in the Bundestag, there you have representatives of all the parties that got in, which will be six parties this time with the with what people think. So they will discuss laws and all of that, and then when they decide that, then it goes one higher up, and then if they like, there's representatives too, and they agree or disagree, and then the laws get put into place. You've got the chancellor, which is like kind of the representative, but there's still someone higher than him, which is so the chancellor is Bundeskanzler, and you have got a Bundespräsident, so he's pretty much the president, but it's not in the way that like our president Steinmeier is not like the president in like Putin or Trump. So for
Yeah, I
yeah,
like how they put those two in the same sentence.
yeah, yeah. And but like the guy Merz, who's now the representative of the CDU, which is like he's going a hardline course right now, which is like pretty trendy right now because what I said, like we pushed and pushed, so there were no crosses hanging in the classrooms anymore, and he's doing everything so every classroom gets a cross attached to the wall because we're still a Christian country, and it's like it's bullshit. Like I have classes, there's not one Christian kid in this class, but
Yeah.
and I'm not, so I'm supposed to look at the cross. And he is a guy that puts emphasis on, yeah, you cannot call a vegan schnitzel schnitzel, or like, like shit, like petty
Yeah.
fucking bullshit that is so unnecessary. And yeah, so we elect our representatives, and they together form this big group. It's kind of like, like Voltron in a way, but it's like Voltron with a moron arm and a stupid head, so to say. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So definitely more than just like, like two candidates, two parties. And I mean, what I understand is like that only like the actual like arguments that Trump and Harris had were like in the swing state because the other states already said anyhow, right?
Well, yeah, but basically, in the United States, contrary to what most people believe, there's no it's not the popular vote that determines the result of the election.
Yeah, yeah,
Like they like to throw these numbers around. Well, 80,000, 80 million people voted from, like that doesn't really matter. What matters is the electoral college.
yeah.
And that goes all the way back to the Civil War in the United States, because when slaves were given their freedom, they still wanted to kind of like keep them as second class citizens. So
Huh.
certain states had higher, like a more of a number of electors.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's where the work starts. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if, obviously a place like California is like overwhelmingly Democratic, so that always goes blue. Like New York is like that.
Mhm.
Texas usually goes red, but it depends on like who votes for what party, in each of these states. The swing states are like the purple states, meaning that,
Good.
that they can go either way.
Yeah. But isn't it also that like some states are gigantic in their size but very slim in their
Yeah,
population, and then
exactly. And that
then they still have like more power because then just a few people have more vote than the others or something?
Yeah, it's like once again, it goes back to the number of electors, and that's how many
Yeah, yeah,
representatives are in Congress based in those states. So it's like
yeah.
that's where, that's where why like, the middle of the country can be completely red, you know.
Mm, yeah.
Anyway, it's
But yeah,
complicated, and most people
yeah,
don't
yeah,
understand how it works,
yeah.
and it's like, but that's I mean, I have my own ideas, which I'm going to keep to myself about this last election, so I'm not going to even go there. But Trump would have never won the 2016 election if it was based purely on the popular vote.
Yeah.
And a Republican wouldn't have won. The last Republican to win the popular vote, with the exception of 2024, which I have my thoughts on that too, was like when back in like, I think Bush Gore, that was the last time, like
Mm,
20 something years ago. The Democrats have always won the popular vote. And look, I'm a Democrat only because I want to vote in primaries. It's not because I really support the
mm,
far left or anything like that. If anything, I'm more of a centrist, but I guess being a centrist these days puts you on the left, so because
Yeah,
the
yeah.
right has like gone so extreme.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing here too. Like that's where our both our countries are kind of alike, and I think it's with most countries like that. It's just here that the electoral process is more actual democratic, that like all the states
Yeah.
have their votes, and it's more parties, it's more diversity. And people here are like pushing for like they try to get like a ban on the AfD because they are confirmed, like parts of them are confirmed right wing, which is opposed to what the constitution of this country is about, but they don't have an actual like means to get rid of them. And then the AfD, whenever like they try like to cancel them out or like get candidates canceled, they say like, but well, it's like, isn't it like democracy that we have to have this vote? And that's what, like kind of the shit show that's happening right now, where the media is completely like fucking up, is because you can like you of course they have the right to voice their opinion, like they can say certain things, and as much as it pains me to see that or listen to it, it's their right to do so in a democratic country. But the media right now fails and gives Vital, which is like their prime candidate. And again, it's like the same stupid fuck up with Hitler, where hey, Hitler was the best German. Well, he was Austrian, you dumb wit. And it's like,
Exactly.
like the AfD is like Germany first, LGBTQ is bullshit, gay people are horrible. But yeah, our main character is a woman, and she's a lesbian, and she lives in Switzerland and is married to a woman with Cuban roots. It's like, how the fuck is that not a problem for you dumbwits? And there we again have the problem that I have with all that shit that's happening right now, because there's no reason. Like you said, they
Well,
cat they
yeah.
catch snippets from social media. If you have an opinion, you will find a channel that will support this opinion, and then you're hooked. But it's not real reason because they don't think about it anymore.
Well, speaking of Hitler, Elon Musk,
Good
he,
transition.
yeah, I mean, not an unelected person, a private citizen, right? An immigrant from South Africa, right? Who entered the country illegally, okay,
Oh, man.
is making all these like, decisions and, about how money's being spent. And furthermore, he's cutting all these like, programs, yet he was just awarded a $400 million contract to provide like combat Teslas,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So his whole thing, his whole like ruse is that, oh yeah, Doge like efficiency. So he's cutting like things that are being, like Medicaid, Medicare, USAID, like all this stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, we're going to save money here, but then you're going to give me $400 million of money to produce a vehicle that not was never even needed or requested for or practical or anything like that. Like I think I think the army or the military has it down with the type of equipment they use. I don't think they need Teslas out on the battlefield, really.
Yeah, and that's the same here, like when the Ukraine war started, when Russia started it, um, like I in school wrote on a blackboard with chalk in the year 2024, you know? And it was like, this is ridiculous. Like, where's the digitalization of everything, anything? And it's like, oh, we don't have any money. But then when the Ukraine war started, all of a sudden they produced like 200 mil billions or something to like install military shit. All of a sudden military
Yeah.
was back. Um,
Yeah.
I had to do social service or go to the military when I was younger, when I was 18. I did social service, and then it fizzled out, and then it was open. You could do it like voluntarily, but you didn't have to go to the military. All of a sudden, they want to bring back like the military, and it's all like it all reeks of bullshit. It's all just like, hey, yeah, so we need more money, so oh yeah, we can do this and that, and then it will work. And it's people like these. It feels like my dad, like an old man that is like stubborn-minded. It's like, oh yeah, it's going back to where it was. Like I know what to do now. And it kind of, I feel like these trends that come back every 20 years when music and clothing, maybe every 50 or 60 years you have to go back to like the primate level of like education.
Well, I mean, everyone is like yearning for this bygone time that didn't even really exist. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the real problem is that like, it's like a rosy colored, amber hued past
Mm.
where that everyone is oh, we're going to go back to basics. I'm like, yeah, but these things that you believed in, you're looking at it removed by several, like another a complete generation. Like a lot of these people are looking at this stuff and they're just like, yeah, you're buying, you're not, you're being lied to essentially. You're being manipulated
Yeah.
because you're being told that certain things are true and certain things are not true, and that's like bolstered up by people's lack of attention span, people's lack of ability to analyze things, and lack of ability to just question. Everyone's like, I'm going to do my own research by looking at what, like some YouTube channel that some
Yeah.
maniac put together.
Yeah, that's like right now, like this election is here. Like, oh, we can't let in the migrants because they just take our money and they kill our people, and it's like all of a sudden, like we have these like last week, a guy in Munich who was a refugee drove a car into like a demonstration and killed people. A few weeks ago, also the same thing, and this whenever this happens, I'm like, oh no. And next day it's like, oh yeah, he's been from Iraq or he's been from this like he's a refugee and he's illegal. It's like it almost feels like they pay people to do this shit so they can push their agenda of like we have to close the borders, we have to get out of the EU because like Dexit, that's what they call it, is a thing here. That's what the AFD wants. They want like the same shit that the UK did with Brexit. They want to do that for Germany too. The Dutch want to, like the Dutch right-wing asshole that's ruling the country is doing the same thing. So pretty much they try to get rid of the idea of the EU. And it's just like I always think about like where did the fucking shit start? And here's my question to you. Do you think we would be in this position, like in this discussion what we just had with all the shits going down, would we be here without the pandemic?
I think the pandemic was a huge factor in all of this because people lost their minds during the pandemic because of isolation. They were online more.
Yeah.
Um, and they're easily manipulated because they feel vulnerable and they don't know what to believe. And then, of course, it was the pandemic, which, it's a medical problem, but it became politicized.
Yeah.
If you wore a mask, you were like anti-American or whatever, you were like a pinko if you wore a mask. And then you got, at the time, we had a leader that was afraid of being blamed for stuff and never took a leadership role. And, oh, it's good. It's all going to go away in a few months. And then it didn't go away. And then rather than trying to really help people, he just was deflecting, or
Yeah.
like, it's not my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. And yeah, and people followed that rabbit hole. They just went down this rabbit hole of like not believing anything because there was so much contradictory information out there. And that turned into political manipulation.
Yeah.
It's like if you believe the A, B, C, and D, you have to believe, the next concept because
Yeah.
it fits the data of like what the things you believe in. It became just like this joining a team as opposed to being a free thinker,
Yeah.
you know? Like I said, back to the flat earth stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, do you think anyone that voted for Kamala Harris believes the earth is flat? Probably not. It's like, but I guarantee you a lot of people that think the earth is flat voted for Donald Trump.
So you mean Stephen Carpenter of the Deftones as a Trumpian?
Probably.
Huh?
Yeah,
Hmm.
probably.
Might be.
I mean, that he's got I wouldn't be surprised. Now you see how many people that you thought would be more sensible
Yeah.
actually have these like right-wing conservative tendencies.
Yeah,
And when
that's
I say conservative, I don't mean like there's anything wrong with having, maybe some conservative ideas, like in a small C sense. Like
yeah.
I'm not condemning anyone who is a Republican, a true Republican or a conservative or a libertarian or a Democrat or whatever. I'm just talking about the extremes of those spectrums.
And it's also like one thing that that's why I asked the questions about the pandemic. I think Like we were always on the verge of this, like if you don't have my opinion, you're my enemy. But I think the pandemic and what you described, the isolation and people didn't know what to do, wrong information, and it's like I think people lost their way to actual communication. It's
Yeah.
kind of like it's all just black and white. It's kind of the discussion that's always happening with black metal. If you're listening to this band, you're a Nazi, and the others is like, no, dude, it's like you can separate art from artist, and like you're a fucking leftist. No, you're a right wing. It's so extreme right away. There's no okay, so yeah, I like Burzum, but like I don't like Varg as a person. You cannot say this anymore because either people will kill you because you're like, yeah, you're a leftist wimp, or you're like, yeah, you're a right-wing asshole. There's no middle ground anymore. And that's also like the thing with reason why we're here with this episode. It's like if you actually think about it and you talk to people, it's not happening. I mean, I couldn't do my fucking job if I would be like this. I teach kids that are primarily Muslim. I have some Christian kids. I have kids whose parents vote for the AfD. I even got some kids that have like more right-wing tendencies, but I cannot go to the kids like, hey, fuck you, man. I won't teach you. Get the fuck out of here. It's like I would just like further his point of view. But no one takes the time or energy because like I think most people say like, hey, it doesn't make any sense. I just keep my mouth shut and just accept the way it is, and that's a problem.
Well, there's an even more like nuanced version of that too when it comes to reason. You talk about like being, all right, first of all, being able to disseminate good ideas from bad ideas, but then also being able to have a tolerance for someone's viewpoint. You know what I mean? Like, for example, the trans issue or the is like LGBTQ issue is a big thing with people. Like, you know, all right, here's a word, here's a problem, like a quote unquote, like a word problem, like a challenge or whatever, like something on a test exam that you would take.
Mm.
If someone might, this is the thing, whatever your viewpoint is on whether or not someone's pronouns are what you should call somebody, right?
Mhm.
We just discussed someone who's trans and they were biologically a male and then they identify as a female. Okay. Now, there's a whole spectrum of ideas that someone can have about what their feelings are about that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you can say, I'm against it, or I think you should, and it's
Mhm.
like, I have complicated feelings about all this stuff too. Like I don't think I follow the party line really about a lot of these things either. But I don't think someone should be victimized because of their ideas. Like if you don't agree, great.
Mhm.
You know, that the world that contributes to the grand tapestry of life, that everyone has different ideas. Like I don't think they should be legislated against based on one particular ideology.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, and that's really a huge problem these days where it's like it's someone is like forcing their ideology over another person. And to me, that is like the roots of fascism in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Social fascism.
Yeah, if we look at the what Trump like talked about on his rallies, it's like is there a problem with like miseducation when it comes to being trans, what all of that means? Absolutely. But like to claim that like, yeah, your kid goes into school and he goes in as Ian and he comes back out and he's Stephanie, like bullshit
That's
like
not
this.
happening anywhere, though. That's
Yeah,
the
not,
thing. I mean,
yeah, but like people are like, oh yeah, yeah, that's the way, that's the way. It's the same thing
yeah,
here with migration. Is like, so is there a problem with the way migration works? Yes, there is. Do we need to address this problem? Absolutely. There has to be done something about this. But like crossing off all the borders and kicking out all these people won't solve the problem? And that's
yeah.
like that's
Well,
yeah.
I mean, like immigration has been a problem in the United States. Not a problem, but it's been an issue for like since the beginning of the United States. You know what I mean? It's like that's not like a new Joe Biden thing.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, there was less illegal immigration during the 4 years that Biden was president than there was during Trump's era.
It's the
And
same.
probably now, probably in the last like 5 weeks of him, I guarantee more people have crossed into this country illegally, probably
That's
because
the
of just
same.
like the changes that he's made.
Yeah, that's the same thing here with like if you like go into like there's this gigantic statistics department and it's free accessible. You just have to put in the time to go to the website, look at the data that you want to look at, and it's statistically proven by the government. But like, yeah, they saw the seeds of doubt with the election and with the government. So they all these social media assholes doing it everything right because you doubt the data that actually would have been our common sense for most of the time. And when you go to this database and you look up like the crime rate committed by migrate like people that migrated to Germany, it's like it's gone down the last 10 years. It's gone down the last 20 years. It's less than it has ever been. But like the cases that there are now, they can really like in social media, they blow them out of proportion. Absolutely. I mean, it's horrible what happened, like a guy driving a car into a mass of people. Horrible.
Yeah.
But like, but it's like it's blown out of proportion to a cause, to a means, to an end. And it's not about the end in the person itself anymore.
Well, I mean, it's perception versus reality. And like on a smaller level, like I remember when I used to live, the years I lived in New York, like, my mom, who's also a New York City native, she spent most of her life living up in the Hudson Valley, so they've been removed from like the urban environment for many, many years. And she's like, living in New York, I'm like taking the subway and everything. My mother's like, I saw that somebody got pushed off the subway, platform. That's happening down there. You be careful, right? And I'm like, the way the news presented living in New York, it's like every day is like I'm dodging bullets or something like that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah,
every
yeah.
day is like it's like the Warriors or something, And it's like
Mhm.
completely not like that. And even today they talk about, yeah, New York, it's not nearly as bad as it was in the 80s, man. I tell you, like, oh, there's people like, living on the streets or whatever. I go, let's go back to 1985 and check New York City out. You know,
Mhm.
this looks like paradise compared to the way it was. And I'm not saying that there isn't a problem, but I'm just saying that things are blown out of proportion. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Places like Seattle, LA, Portland, they got a little bit more of a beef with that because I've been there. I've seen both versions of those cities, the nicer version of those areas and what it's like the last time I was there. Like last time I
Mhm.
was in Portland, it was like I thought I was going to get attacked by this like band of like homeless people. You know what I mean? It was definitely hairy over there.
Mhm.
But perception versus like reality. It's like the right wing would lead you to believe that the immigration problem is only existed. It didn't exist before Joe Biden.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been like it's been that's like always been on the table as a problem. It's not and what's the solution? The solution is not in 24 hours I would solve this problem. The solution is something that's like going to take a lot of planning and intention, not
Yeah.
just unleashing like his Gestapo on these like people that are perceived as being in this country illegally.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently ICE is picking up people who are actually citizens now too. So, oh
It's
no, that's just the media telling you that, I guess, right?
yeah.
They got to play it both ways. That's not happening. The media is like the liberal media is like misleading you.
Yeah.
Who it's just like perception, and like everyone has to just like take a step back and evaluate things in a reasonable way.
And that's what people don't do anymore because they're lazy. And that's like when you go back to Kant, like his categorical imperative is like the thing that really like got me thinking back when I was like studying. It's like, and I thought like I teach this every year, and people like kids in school, some of them don't get it, but then some of them are like, shit, man, that's actually like a good way to approach thinking. I mean, um, the general idea, I'm sure you know the categorical imperative, but like to some of you out there who might not know it, is like Kant's basic idea is that you should only act in a way that you could wish that everybody in the world would act the same way in the same situation. So, and to get it like to a point where it can be objectively, um, you have to step back, which he calls a priori. So, prioritize. So, go before your own expectations, your own desires, your own experiences, to just step back and see it in a neutral way. And I think that's something that's not happening anymore. People are reacting with gut instinct because they heard something. It's so polemic all the time that people don't use reason anymore to really say, like, okay, let's take a step back. So, are people really eating cats and dogs? Is there a chance that people really go out there and eat cats and dogs? Let's find out. And it's like, no, it's just like, oh, Trump said it. He's the president. He must know. And it's like people are fucking lazy, and that's the death of desire because it's just like people are lazy and it's the death of reason.
Yeah, and that leaves an opening for the real problem, really. I mean, I know we've been, Trump is a horrible person, straight
Yeah,
up. He's a, like a, rapist, tax
yeah,
evader, racist, like all these things,
yeah,
and his biggest crime is being a fucking idiot, really,
yeah,
you know. But the real, he's just a tool in this whole thing, honestly.
yeah.
I mean, honestly, the United States has been an oligarchy for a long time, but
Mhm.
now it's front and center. Just
Yeah,
the fact we talked about two parties, right? The
yeah,
Democrats and Republicans. The reason why there aren't 30 parties here is because they make money. They have money to wage their campaign based on, lobbyists and, big corporations getting behind them. Okay.
yeah.
But now oligarchy is front and center, just like Saudi Arabia.
Mhm.
We have
Yeah.
like Elon Musk, and that guy, the Facebook guy with the perm. What's that fucking
Yeah, yeah,
guy's
yeah,
name?
yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, the Facebook guy. He's
yeah,
got the sickest perm. He's got a sick perm
yeah.
though, I gotta say. Like I admire that. That
Yeah,
guy. Mark Zuckerberg, that's his name.
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
The jujitsu enthusiast. Okay, that guy. Bezos, like all these guys are front and center now. So
Yeah.
now there's a whole other philosophical movement that's been going on called the Dark Enlightenment, which I don't know if you ever heard of that.
No, never.
All right.
And
Now this
enlighten me.
is okay, we go back to the Age of Enlightenment, with Descartes and
Mhm.
Spinoza, and all these like philosophers. Now, this is headed up by a guy named Curtis Yarvin, um, Nick Land, who's another philosopher. He wrote a collection of essays called The Dark Enlightenment, and Peter Thiel, the PayPal guy,
Mhm.
and it's basically like an anti-democratic, pro-monarchy movement, of rich people.
Mhm.
And their whole treatise is that democracy doesn't work, that government should be run like a series of companies, because like his their main all right, to reduce their whole philosophy is like every piece of technology that we have, every successful piece of hardware, everything has been brought to us by a monarchistic organization, right? Saying that like your iPhone, right?
Mhm.
That was produced by Apple. That's run like a monarchy, right? It's like there's a CEO who tells people what to do and they do it, right? Now there's a million holes to be poked in this argument. His basic idea is that the state should be run like a series of monarchies. Okay,
Mhm.
so all these guys are manipulating. All of Trump's cabinet are people that are like, uh, you know, uh, disciples of this methodology. Like this whole philosophy, like JD Vance and all these guys. Trump has no idea probably about any of this stuff. He just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
eating McDonald's every day and
Yeah.
playing golf and signing things with a Sharpie and like all that stuff.
Dancing to
But there's even
YMCA.
yeah, dancing in YMCA, hanging out with Hulk Hogan. But there's actually a thing in this Curtis Yarvin stuff called Rage. Retire all government employees. Okay.
Ah, okay, I see.
That's exactly what Elon Musk is doing.
Oh man,
They're
yeah.
offering these like they may or may not even honor some of these like retirement packages that they're offering to all the governments, and they're going to replace them with their loyalists, right?
Mhm.
So this is what we're dealing with here. It's this. creation of a series of fascist states that are run by a supreme leader or whatever. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
The problem with that is like in the United States, with maybe the exception of Texas, all of the money in this country is being made by democratic states. You know what I mean? Like California's got the sixth largest economy in the entire world. Most of the Republican states, the red states, operate in a deficit and they take more money than they're actually putting into taxes. So that's probably one reason why something like this would fail. And this Yarvin guy is, I've watched a couple of interviews with him, and you can tell he's one of these like incel guys who probably reads a lot of stuff on the internet and has a blog and like all this sort of stuff. So this is really what's going on behind the scenes, at least in the United States, and probably on a more global level, because as you see, oligarchy and fascism is slightly on the rise. Like the far right is on the rise, even in Europe, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is with the AFD, which is like exactly the copycat party of all this, hey, they got a big plug from Elon Musk. He posted something on X on
Yeah, I
his
remember that.
profile. AFD is the only chance for Germany. And he did
Yep.
an interview with Alice Weidel and pushed her narrative too, because I'm pretty sure he knows what's up. Like, like he has with her, he has the ally in Germany, which is a business partner. And the same thing, like all the stuff in the program of the AFD is kind of the same thing. We have to defund the government. We have to kick people out. We have to do this. We have to control the schools again. Pretty much the same thing. So it all makes sense. It's actually like a fucking it's like a Mission Impossible movie coming into real life. And Trump is like the puppet at the head of the table. And I think like Elon Musk and Putin, all these guys are laughing his ass off about like how dumb he is. I mean, like let alone the phone call that Trump and Putin had, and like, so let's talk. It's like, oh, you can have all of this, and Putin is like, really? I didn't even have to bargain. All right, let's go. Thank you. It's like it's so ridiculous that it would be comical if it wouldn't be so fucking sad.
Yeah, I wish I was reading about this in some novel, but it's not, unfortunately, fiction. It's all true. And
Yeah.
what's going on now, too, almost it reminds me like this philosophical element to it. Like there was all those philosophers, like the pre-Nazi Germany guys, like Alfred Rosenberg. Uh,
Mhm.
I think wasn't Alfred Rosenberg like kind of the one of the key like Third Reich architects or something, like philosophically.
Yeah.
There's like a whole like list of, or I don't know why that. I think that name sticks in my head because Rosenberg sounds like a Jewish last name, and I thought it was
Mhm.
ironic that a guy
Mhm.
like that would, create like. But yeah, there's like a whole philosophical element to that version of fascism, and now I feel like this Dark Enlightenment is like the modernized version of that movement that's rearing its head. Where history is like in this like cyclical nature. And right now, we're really rife for a world war, honestly. I mean, the way things are going,
Yeah.
and we'll see what happens. It's just like there's a lot of this stuff going on.
It's for years kids have asked me in school when we talked about Second World War, about the state of the world and everything. Do you think like a third world war is at hand? And I'm always like, nah, I don't think so. But dude, like right now, with like
Yeah, right
everything that's
now.
happening, especially also like the conflict in the Far East,
Yeah.
that's still like going on, and the deformation on the internet, and it's like the fires are burnt. Like I think the fuses are lit, and I think if more fuses are lit at some time, yeah, somewhere the bomb will explode. And I also feel this weird tension that I always talk about, like in school. Like if you go to the schoolyard and the kids have a break, there used to be like push pull fights with kids. Like you
Yeah,
said
of
this,
course.
you're mommy, and like. But right now it's like whenever something happens, there will be like a polk of like 30 kids, and they will cheer
Yeah.
people on to actually kill the other one. And it's like
Yeah.
at some point soon, I think that's like good representative of what society is at right now. Is like we're it's almost like in Ghostbusters 2 when they go into this river of slime underneath New York City and they come out and they're like willing to kill each other. And it's like that's the thing, like with Trump, social media, all the shit that's been going on. I think the pandemic was like putting oil into the fire. It's like we're about to combust, and reason is the only chance we have, like to actually like keep the shit together. But like I said, my sum, like if I make have to make a sum of like where we're at right now, I think like we're like a lot of people are willingly abandon the reason that they have in themselves, and it's like pure egoism is happening right now. And it's like this, oh, I deserve more, they are going to give me more, and in the end we will all be losers.
Yeah, I think that was maybe a few months ago in the United States that was part of it, but now because of all this stuff that's happened recently in the last not even 2 months, like prices are up. His Trump ran on, oh, eggs and bacon are gonna be less expensive, right?
Mhm.
Prices are going up. Uh, we don't, we're talking. He's talking about invading other countries and stuff, and like his whole treatise was like, oh, America first, right?
Yeah.
But why are we like talking about taking over like Greenland and occupying the Gaza Strip and Panama,
Cleaning it out.
Mexico? Yeah, and like ethnically cleansing Gaza, like
Make it a Riviera and maybe put the
yeah,
Ukrainians there so Putin can have Ukraine.
dude. Yeah, I
It's
mean, and that's like his lack of support for Ukraine is like basically a green light for Putin to start
yeah.
taking over the rest of, Europe. You know what I mean? It's like I would be worried if I was living in, Germany or Switzerland or any of
Yeah.
those places.
And that's like
Poland.
when people ask me like where do you see the biggest issue and where the third world war can start, it's right there. Now with like Trump taking away the backing for the Ukraine, at some point the EU will have to support them. Then one rocket
Yeah.
has to go sideways, and then we have a fucking issue. Like then we have a problem, and I'm sitting right here trying to do my best, and it's horrible, man. It's really really surreal.
Yeah. No, totally, man. And it's a scary time, which could have easily been sidestepped, really.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
and it goes back to full circle what we were talking about. It's like if any, people would stop if they just took a minute to think things through instead of
yeah,
just reacting, living in this reactionary world of like, going to own the libs by voting for Trump. It's like, well, who are you really owning? You're just selling yourself out
yeah,
because you're paying for more money for everything right now.
yeah,
And now, if we go to war, a bunch of like, 18-year-old kids are going to be putting them in a meat grinder, basically. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you're putting your own people literally in mortal danger for some whim of some old man, basically
yeah.
senile old man and his acolytes.
And that's why I chose the quote, and they won't have to burn the books because no one reads them anyways. It's like it's a Nazi metaphor, but it's like it's all been done before. It's all right there. It's in the books. You just have to read them. You just have to actually consciously think. You have to use reason. And there's this little thing which is such an easy rule because kids always like, it's like the categorical imperative is kind of like the golden rule. It's like, nah, you can rule like the golden rule can be easily like manipulated. But there's this thing, your freedom ends where it invades the freedom of others. If you like keep to that, think about that more often, it's actually pretty easy to do a big thing. But I have the feeling that there's this enormous need and grief in people to like I deserve more. And for years I've swallowed my pride, but I deserve more. And that's what all these assholes are offering. Like what Trump does, what the AfD does, what the CDU does. Like, hey, vote us and you will be rich. You will have more. And it's complete utter bullshit because when you use reason, actually read something about it, you will see there's no fucking chance in hell that we will end up winning. They will win because they're already rich and they will just get richer.
Yeah, exactly. Now, let me bring up another point too about just, not related. This is actually not related to what you're saying, but I was thinking about this as you were talking about it is what everyone made every excuse in the world for Elon Musk seek hailing twice, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he was given
Oh
every excuse.
man, yeah, yeah,
And it was clear to me that he was Sikh hailing, right?
yeah,
You remember when Phil Anselmo was drunkenly Sikh hailed at that show
yeah,
and he
yeah,
just got ostracized by everyone?
yeah,
I mean, I know it's like apples and oranges, but still, it's like everyone, he got canceled for that, basically. Phil had to
yeah,
like do this penance for like Sikh hailing at a show,
yeah,
right? Musk, in front of like normal people, went up on stage twice, two times, threw up a Nazi
yeah,
salute.
yeah,
Oh no, he didn't mean that. Like, what do you mean he didn't mean that? Come on now. It's like, oh, he's like on the spectrum and like that's not an excuse, man. Like
yeah,
if you or
yeah.
I like see Heiled somewhere, we would be like fucking it would be over for us. You know what I mean?
We would tour Russia.
Yeah, we'd be all tour the South and Russia probably.
Dude, I mean, probably our tours would make more money than we ever made with our bands, but we would play to people we don't want to play for. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's again, it's like I think I mentioned it before. Like I'm not a big like stand-up comedy fan, but there's this Chris Rock special on Netflix called Selective Outrage, and it's like one of his examples. It's like, hey, everybody's celebrating Michael Jackson, but we're not allowed to listen to R. Kelly. It's kind of the same
Yeah,
thing. Like, and
it's
it's
true.
a yeah, it's the same with like some black metal thing. We have this German magazine here, Deaf Forever, which like people I
Yeah, I
like,
remember
and
that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like like they have like sometimes they try to there's bands like Decibel Omega where they like fans of that band and then they talk about this and people are like, why the fuck are you talking about this? It has Miko Asperson in it and he's like in this Nazi thing. And the same was like, oh, this band Ascension is on that label. And it's like, yeah, we're like against this, but this band is cool. And that's like it's a selective outrage thing. Yeah.
The one positive from all this is that all bets are off now when it comes to listening to Burzum and like, clandestine Blaze and like
Yeah,
all that sort
yeah,
of stuff. It's
yeah.
like now that but Musk by Seek Hailing twice on national television has enabled me to enjoy my Burzum records and listen to Death. I'm wearing a Death in June t-shirt right now, actually, because of this. And listen to Deathspell Omega, Clandestine Blaze, and Graveland, and all these bands that because now it's like cool to like it's like, oh, I can make an excuse. Well, I didn't mean that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah.
do you think
Again,
that with Mika from Deathspell Omega, I feel like more people have been out of shape about that Nicole 12 band that he's doing than the Clandestine Blaze stuff, maybe.
yeah, I don't know. Like I didn't even know that band. But it's like that because Death Spell is such a hit band for or has been for a while that a lot of people are into that. So I don't know, but that's the only thing they care about because they know, like they know Death Spell and they know Clandestine Blaze, and that's all they talk about.
I think Clandestine Blaze is sick, actually. I don't care if like, you know, it's got
Yeah.
some weird darkness around it, but like it's just fucking a good band. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem with a lot of these bands is like they're actually not terrible and people want to listen to them. And yeah, like I always said, like I have no problem when you listen to that shit. It's like it's something else in some settings if you run around with merch of them. And if that's your decision and you want to do that, fine. But you will get called out at some places. And if you can live with that, cool. But it's like everybody's decision. And here we are again at that point where I say like I have to deal with all kinds of people in my job, and I cannot be like, hey, you're a Muslim. I don't like you. You wear a Burzum shirt. Great music, but guys now, so now I'll kick you out of my classroom. That's not the way it works. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, we're fucked, man.
pretty much. We
Yeah.
always have been though. That's the thing, man.
Yeah. We already
So what's
prepared for this.
yeah. So what's on the horizon for Ulta right now? Anything interesting happening with you guys?
Oh yeah, I
That
mean
you can
we're
that you can announce that you can announce.
yeah, doing a clandestine Blaze cover record. No. No, I mean it's like we've been rested for a while, writing, working on new music, playing first show next month, where we'll play with Dead Congregation, which is sick.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, and after that we'll go to the UK. We'll do like a proper UK tour. It's the first tour in the UK after the Ill-Fated Tombs Planks tour we did.
Oh man.
Um, then we have 2 dates in summer, and then yeah, actually, like Russian Circles asked us to go on tour with them, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, we had to fill some gaps because they're going to play Hellfest. So they're going to play some shows on the way to and away from Hellfest, but we cannot play Hellfest because we're not big enough. We're not on a cool label. I don't know. But we were like able to fill those gaps. So we'll do like a whole week of touring. And yeah, but we'll play 7 shows with Russian Circles, a band I have tremendous respect for, and which will bring Otha to a crowd of a lot of people that probably will like us but never heard of us. So that's pretty sick. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's all good stuff, man.
Yeah. So what's happening with the Anodyne camp? Any reunion plans? Any tours?
Never. I don't even
Never.
talk to my former bass player. So,
Yeah.
I haven't talked to that guy in like 6 years probably at this point.
Yeah, I'm just
Um,
saying reform Versoma. That's all I care for.
yeah, I would play. Jamie retired from doing music, but I would play in
Yeah.
a band with Jamie again. I mean, it
Yeah.
wouldn't be Versoma, but I would do something
Yeah.
musically with him.
Yeah. But
I mean, not maybe not that band never had a solid lineup really. That's the problem with Versoma.
yeah. But
There's
it
like me and
also,
him, and there's like 6 different drummers and 5 different bass players, and
yeah. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it before. Like, I still have so much love for this CP. I constantly, like, it always comes back up. I know you have mixed feelings about it, but like, I still love that EP. And
it
especially,
was
I
cool.
also, yeah, I also have like the love for the first Tombs EP because it feels like this, like, still remnants from Versoma in the first Tombs EP.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there were
so
literally songs I'd written for Versoma that just became a different thing, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. And it's crazy, man, how long was it ago? It's like 16, 17 years or something.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about how long ago it was. But
Yeah, we're
it's time is a flat circle, man. We'll do
yeah.
this all again sometime.
Yeah. We'll definitely do a
Um,
podcast again. So that's
oh
that's the
yeah.
important
Oh
thing.
yeah. But yeah, and we finished recording. We're still mixing the Tombs record, but that's done. The tracking's been done for a while, and getting the mixes back from Justin, our drummer, who's
Oh yeah.
mixing the record. And the last couple of getting there. We were supposed to be done by now, but everything's a little bit behind schedule. So even the artwork's behind schedule. But the
Yeah.
great Selden Hunt is doing the album cover, and
Yeah.
but that's going to be out in the fall. Originally, we were looking to do it in the spring, but our manager was like, Mark was talking about how it's better to do it and have more time to promote it and gets more. We're going to do several singles over the course of the summer, and it'll give him more time to figure out something for touring in the fall.
Yeah.
And then, that's the rough plan. So, and
Yeah,
then
I
we're playing
still
this fly in like beer festival in Atlanta in April. So that should be fun.
I still owe you those spoken excerpts from Mein Kampf. So as rap part intros to the new Tomb
Oh,
songs,
I I just got Elon Musk. He knew him by heart, anyways.
absolutely. And I think
Yeah,
people would agree with us. So yeah, I hope you guys out there enjoyed what we're talking about. Very philosophical episode, I would say. More so than ever.
yeah. Well, thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon. It's good to be back doing this regularly.
Yeah.
Last few weeks have been a little bit rough for me, but I appreciate everyone who hung in there. Thanks.